Hi folks, good morning. If you could kindly gather around, please. We'd like to get started. Good morning, my name is Scott James. I am chairman of the Weld Board of County Commissioners. We certainly appreciate your attendance to tell you about a piece of legislation that has the potential to cost Colorado counties, subsequently Colorado taxpayers, upwards of $600 million a year, making this the largest unfunded mandate ever forced on counties from the Colorado legislature. This morning, you will hear from county commissioners from rural, from suburban, and from large counties, all saying this legislation is a solution that is looking for a problem. Fact is, county jobs are good jobs. We work in partnership with our employees, enjoying outstanding relationships and offering positive working environments. In Weld County, there are more than 1,800 employees that work in service of the people who live in our 4,000 square miles. We regularly conduct salary surveys and pay our workers an above average wage. We offer outstanding insurance and wellness benefits and participation in a secure retirement program that is 110% funded at an assumed return rate of 5.9%. In this top-down collective bargaining obligation, if it were forced on Weld County, it would necessitate additional staff time, legal resources, human resources, expertise, dispute resolution costs, and ultimately higher wages and benefits. Challenges to static county budgets may necessitate cuts for our citizens or local tax increases to accommodate higher employee salaries. According to Weld's Director of Finance and Administration, if the proposed collective bargaining bill becomes law, Weld County could expect a one-time expense of about $400,000 to deal with unionization campaigns. Ongoing costs would be approximately $30 million annually. One of the primary roles of a county commissioner is to act as a fiduciary for taxpayers, overseeing how their dollars are expended and invested in an efficient provision of services by county government. My fellow commissioners and I represent the consent of the governed in county financial matters. Collective bargaining would usurp the will and consent of the voters by severely limiting the ability of the Weld Board of County Commissioners to manage our county's largest expenditure, labor. Several counties around the state have embraced collective bargaining, and it's working well in those jurisdictions. Nothing in statute forbids counties from developing a collective bargaining agreement, but this is a local decision that should be left to local governments. The bill is not needed, it's not wanted. This mandated collective bargaining approach has the potential to make hiring and retaining our county workforce in a post-COVID world even more difficult, especially as counties compete with municipalities for a limited pool of public sector employees. This legislative effort is bad for Weld County, it's bad for Weld taxpayers, and it is bad for Colorado. Would you please join me in welcoming to the podium from Douglas County, Commissioner Laura Thomas. Commissioner Thomas.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here for a very important topic. My name is Laura Thomas. I'm a Douglas County Commissioner. I have a reputation of being a fiscal hawk. As the county coroner, I reduced the budget by 1/3 because tax dollars belong in your pockets if they are not providing essential services. We're talking about deputies on the street who keep us safe. We're talking about human services workers who keep our kids safe. We're talking about all the different services that the counties provide to make our communities one that are rich and proud and family friendly. If this collective bargaining bill becomes law, it is going to devastate counties across the state of Colorado. We all believe in local control. Each community is different, and the commissioners know what that community wants. We do not need the state. We do not need unions telling us what to do. This is very costly. Our staff has estimated it will cost Douglas County $50 million. This will prevent us from providing the services. It will also put a barrier in between management, supervisors, and employees. Right now, we enjoy a very collaborative process where our employees help us provide better services. They are the boots on the ground. They know what works best. Unions will stop that discussion, that communication, and will harm our communities. Please contact your legislators and tell them we do not need the state telling the counties how to manage our business. Thank you very much, and I'd like to introduce Commissioner Eric Stone from Teller County.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Thomas. You know, as a county commissioner, I'm Eric Stone from Teller County. As a county commissioner from a small mountain county, we look at this a lot the same as some of the counties that are in the urban areas, but we also look at it very differently because, you know what, in small counties, we're like families. And in small counties, we laugh and we cry and we celebrate and we mourn with our employees. It's family and we're all close. And this bill, if it's passed, is going to take what is not just a collegial relationship, but an extremely positive and familial relationship and turn it into an adversarial one. Now, as a small county, we did market studies just this year. We do them constantly. We made significant changes to the wage structures of every single department. And in small counties, we went down to literally a position by position study on what we would pay our employees. And then the commissioners themselves went to every single department explaining the different raises that they would receive. Those types of relationships will not be able to continue if collective bargaining is approved. In addition to the significant costs, small county commissioners are going to be required to sit down and decide which of our essential services that we provide will not be provided or will be delayed or might just simply take longer. You know, in Teller County, we plow your roads within 24 hours of the last flake of every single snowstorm. To the last mile of every county road, it's plowed within 24 hours. We won't be able to do that if collective bargaining is approved. So we're asking the public, we're asking our municipal partners, we're asking all of our partners in public service across the state to join us in what is not a bipartisan effort, it's a nonpartisan effort. We are Republicans, we are Democrats, most importantly, we are local representatives. We need this control to stay local. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stone. From Phillips County, please welcome Commissioner Terry Hofmeister.
Thank you for being here. Terry Hofmeister, Commissioner out of Phillips County. We're out on the Eastern Plains, we're in the northeast corner. We're 100% agriculture. We do not have any manufacturing. We have 47 employees with a $10 million budget annually. Out of that budget, we have almost $4 million going back to our employees. We do not have any employees that are dissatisfied. They're a very caring group, as we are. We're a tight-knit family. We would like to keep it that way. We do not need the state. We do not need the federal to tell us how to run our county. I was voted in to run our county, to be one of the 3 commissioners to represent our county. I feel like we do a very good job. We do not need someone else to tell us how to do it. We know our people, we know our community, we know the needs of our community. Also, if this were to go through, we would have to hire a specialized union HR person, because none of us are familiar with that part of it. We would have to hire an HR lawyer to help us through the negotiations. We're not prepared for that. We do not have the money for this. It would break our county. We just cannot deal with bad legislation. I'm also part of Pro 15, which is 15 counties in northeast Colorado. They're also opposed to this. I wanted to get that on record. That's another 15 counties that are so opposed to this. At that point, that's all I have to say. I want to thank you for your time. I would like to introduce Commissioner Zane from Weld County.
Sure.
So this collective bargaining bill hasn't, for the public sector, has been delayed and hasn't been introduced for a reason. This bill doesn't represent any party. It doesn't represent the wishes of any constituency in this state. And this is a bill that will add millions of dollars to every service that counties provide, which means there will be less services for those in poverty, less funding for the most vulnerable in our society, our children, and less funding for services that benefit every person that resides in our counties, including the maintenance and building of roads. We ask our legislators today to listen to the voice of reason And do not introduce this bill that will cripple county budgets and provide less value to the essential services that counties provide. We are the government closest to the people, and we know best what our constituents need. And it's not forced collective bargaining at $30 million annually in Weld County. It's not pushing the crushing weight of more government into a solution looking for a problem. Again, we ask our legislators in the state, we urge you to stop this bill. Thank you.
Colorado's a big place, and so I am going to read a couple of statements from county commissioners who could join us in person today. This from the Otero Board of County Commissioners. Collective bargaining would be a huge negative impact on Otero County. We are a small county that struggles in these challenging economic times. If passed, this proposed bill would cost Otero an additional $2 to $3 million per year and could cause a reduction in our current workforce to meet the demands of this proposal. We have no way to generate more funds other than a tax increase that would have to go to the vote of the people. Otero County does not support the collective bargaining bill, and we appreciate your full consideration for all counties in Colorado before passing this legislation. Please join me now in welcoming from Bent County Commissioner Kim McDonald. Kim?
Good morning, and again, thank you for being here. In the same way that my fellow commissioners across the state have done the analysis in their own counties, we've looked at the numbers in Bent County. If this bill were to pass, our local county budget would increase by, we estimate, 37 to 41%. Already, our county budget is over 50% just dedicated to salaries and benefits, all of which would be the meat of what would be addressed in this bill. We cannot afford it. I loved hearing the Teller County Commissioner saying, just like our small county, it would decimate our budget. One of the things that I would like to point out as well is that it may not be widely known that small rural counties often take on a lot of the responsibility, in addition to the regular responsibilities of county governments, of doing things that local nonprofits do in a more metropolitan area. You know, we serve people in ways that are maybe outside of what you would typically see in the county government, not overstepping our bounds, but filling in a need. And just this last week, Bent County was devastated by wildfires, literally all over the county. And in that time, people from our road and bridge, people from our local transit, people from our community center, people from the fair board, on and on and on. Obviously the law enforcement and the fire department was involved in that, but all of those people were adding to this effort. And if something like this were to occur, we would be facing, just like everyone else, reductions either in staff or in services in our already, we're a poverty county. Bent County is routinely among the top 5 in the state of Colorado in terms of the highest population of poverty, and especially those under the age of 18 under poverty. We are creative and work together with all of our community partners and regional partners across the state, really, to just make things happen. This would devastate us. A decision like this, if Bent County and our staff collectively got together and wanted to start collective bargaining and make that choice, that is certainly up to us and to our people in a contemplative manner. I think coming from the top down and telling us what we need to do is absolutely the wrong way to go, and I urge anybody who's listening to not support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McDonald. From Elbert County, please welcome Commissioner Chris Richardson.
Good morning. I'm Commissioner Chris Richardson from Elbert County. As I was sitting here today, this building is at its best when it serves the people of Colorado. It's at its absolute worst when it's serving special interests. This bill is strangely biased, unnecessary, and burdensome. It seems very punitive. When it was originally talked about, towns and cities were involved. Higher education was involved. Those have been stripped out. If you look on the DOLA website, there's about 200 types of local government in this state, and it targets counties. The one set of organizations that serve the people directly. And that's just tremendously unfair and confusing, quite honestly. It's unnecessary. There are counties that are already involved in collective bargaining with their employees. If that's a decision the local governments want to make, if the local employees want to make, it can be done without this legislation. And it's truly burdensome. You've heard the numbers. For our county, it would cost about $4 million a year. Now, when you just passed a budget that's nearly $40 billion in this building, $4 million probably doesn't sound like much. But we just can't pass our costs on to our customers. Our taxpayers give us a cap to work with under. If this goes through, we'd be cutting about 25% of our workforce. Those are our deputies. Those are the people that plow our roads, that build our roads. There are victims advocates. There are the people from human services that go out and work with families in distress. It's our deputies. I mean, there are places in our county that already have about a 45-minute response time. It's just inexcusable. Over the last couple of years, we've worked in a very collaborative way, conducting market research and putting pay plans in place that were built collaboratively and based on the Equal Pay for Equal Work Act that was passed a couple of years ago. In some cases, this resulted in certain classifications of employees receiving up to 30% pay increases. This work didn't require collective bargaining, but it did require a collective effort of employees, management, elected officials, and our citizens to balance all the many priorities we have and ensure fair treatment for all, including our taxpayers. This bill establishes an adversarial structure. It's wrong in almost every way. I urge that it not be introduced. If it is introduced, that it die in committee. If it makes it to the floor and gets passed, the governor needs to sign it. This is just bad news for everybody, and it's bad for our citizens. Thank you.
Allow me to read a statement, please, from Commissioner Sue Hansen in Montrose County. Montrose County will have to take substantial operational department decisions, which undoubtedly will affect services to our community. Privatization, reduction in workforce, and changes to benefits are some of the options we have grave concerns about the totality of this legislation that attacks the services we promise to deliver to our residents. We stridently oppose this measure. Please now join me in welcoming from Logan County Commissioner Byron Pelton. Byron?
This collective bargaining is very concerning to all of us up here. That's why you see this collective effort. One of the things that we struggle with in Logan County is keeping good employees. We have 200 employees, and over the last 5 years, we've increased our budget by 23% to make sure that we keep good employees. When you live in rural Colorado, it is very difficult to keep those employees, and that's why we do this. We also have salary surveys that we're right in the middle of doing right now, so we can make sure that we have a good wage for our citizens. When I say citizens, I mean our county employees, because ultimately they are our citizens and we want to work with them. This will cost Logan County anywhere between $3 and $4.1 million, increasing to our budget that we've already increased to take care of other services in our counties. It could possibly create slower response times for our ambulance, law enforcement, potholes, even snow removal could be affecting their citizens if this passes. This is not good for Colorado. It is not good for our counties. I thank you for being here, and I'd like to introduce Fremont County County Commissioner Kevin Grantham.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Kevin Grantham. I'm a Fremont County Commissioner and a recovering legislator. I just want to point out just maybe a couple quick things that I don't want to belabor all the great points that have been made by the commissioners so far. Specifically for Fremont County, we actually, over the course of the last 2 years, have gone through a complete restructure of our salary pay scales and which has resulted in a 10 to 15% increase across the board for our employees. We're already doing the job that the state thinks that they need to do for us. We are doing it, and we are accomplishing it. We have good employees, and we want to keep those employees. And what this bill could potentially do is jeopardize many of the jobs in our counties and in Fremont County. When we talk about roads that need graded, roads that need plowed, we talk about DHS services, we talk about health services, we talk about enforcement, law enforcement, and we talk about response times in the rural areas of our county. Every single one of those things would suffer, and suffer catastrophically, if this were to happen. Our financial experts in Fremont County estimate this to cost us annually upwards of $6 to $9 million. That would be catastrophic to our budget if we had to take a hatchet to much of our budget that we can't afford to right now. Just one quick point that I want to make on this that I haven't heard yet today. One rationale that is being used to justify the potential introduction of this bill is that the county is an arm of the state. Well, let me tell you, while it's true that counties do administer both state and local services, it is not true that collective bargaining is essential to the delivery of state services by the counties. Fremont County in particular has been doing this task for over 160 years without the benefit of collective bargaining, and we will continue to do so for the next 160 without collective bargaining. The state of Colorado has 30,000 employees. It has determined that it will use collective bargaining as an effective way to manage its workforce. It is well within its right to do that. The 358 employees of Fremont County are not state employees, and we do not require collective bargaining to help manage those employees. Neither do any of the other counties, unless they choose to do so, which they have that choice right now. This is bad legislation, a solution in search of a problem, and I urge our legislators to reject this, and I urge our governor to get involved and stop this and kill it in its infancy. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grantham from El Paso County. Please welcome Commissioner Carrie Geithner. Carrie?
Thank you and good morning. My name is Carrie Geithner. I am one of the 5 commissioners that serves the more than 737,000 residents of El Paso County. My dad was an elevator mechanic and belonged to a labor union. My uncles and my brother worked, and in some cases do still work in that industry and belong to a labor union. I've seen the benefits and the drawbacks for my family through that lens over the years. But the financial consequences of unionization and collective bargaining are immense. While most businesses can increase prices to deal with ballooning costs and pass them on to customers, counties do not have that ability. I question the ethics of forcing taxpayers to pay for inflated essential and emergency services. Our county has examined the financial implications, which inevitably lead to human implications of this mandate, and it is devastating. Using the most conservative estimate, this mandate will cost our residents $25 million more. That administrative cost burden means 5.6 million potholes will go unfilled. 225 miles of road will not be chip sealed. 251 new sheriff's deputies we cannot hire, and 332 new DHS employees that we cannot hire. Or it could give us a 14% cost of living increase for our 2,800 employees. And that's just the conservative estimate. This is bad policy at a bad time, and this very rushed bill has left us with many questions. This bill singles out counties. Why have the sponsors removed K through 12, higher ed, cities, and left counties that must provide essential and emergency services that could be impacted tremendously? This bill does not allow voters to make a choice about what will be enormous impacts to their county government. We know that the citizens of Colorado Springs and El Paso County considered and rejected those impacts recently when they overwhelmingly voted against a ballot measure that would have allowed collective bargaining for firefighters. For the state to now legislate against the will of citizens is offensive and inappropriate. Why would the legislature force a one-size-fits-all mandate on Coloradans instead of honoring local control? Coloradans were assured by leadership in both chambers during their opening session speeches, Republicans and Democrats, that cost of living and affordability are a priority. The governor has insisted that he too is working to make Colorado more affordable for our struggling families. Why now would we impose a mandate on taxpayer-funded county governments that will cost millions? Currently, the labor market in El Paso County and much of Colorado is tight, and employees have many choices, forcing us to compete with the private sector with good pay and benefits to keep our hardworking employees on board. Why do the sponsors deem this mandate necessary at this time? El Paso County is the most populous county in Colorado. Why didn't the sponsors have conversations with our county before introducing this bill? Why not hear from those on the ground what impacts there will be? Why are we jamming this bill through without a stakeholder process in a fast and furious rush at the end of the session? El Paso County is joined by many other organizations, cities, and towns who understand the devastating impact that this mandate will have on our residents. In opposition to this mandate, we are joined by Pikes Peak Area of Council Governments, the City of Fountain, the Town of Monument and Mayor of Monument Don Wilson, the City of Colorado Springs, and the Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC. There are even more organizations who have not yet had time to react to this bill, but we expect will join us in opposition as this bill heads through the process. We are prepared to do everything we can to protect citizens from this egregious legislation and ask for a bipartisan effort of the leadership of these chambers, who acknowledged affordability as a top priority just weeks ago, to stop this devastating mandate. We also appeal to the governor. If the legislature will not listen to counties, we ask you to be prepared to veto this bill and keep your promise to Coloradans. And now I will introduce Nancy Sharp.
Good morning. I'm Nancy Sharp, Arapahoe County Commissioner, and I am really honored to be here today with all of my fellow commissioners from around the state. While counties provide direct residential services in core areas such as human services and public health and many other things that you've heard about, we all do it differently. We're different entities. Counties serve anywhere from 730 people to 730,000 people, relying on a myriad of economic sectors to support our diverse populations. Despite these differences, our counties have one commonality: local elected officials and commissioners. Local decision-making, authority, and accountability are fundamental for good governance in our state. As a commissioner, I must make decisions that impact our residents, and I must remain accountable to voters, regardless of party. The policy decisions should be left to each local elected board and mirror established best practices. And I know we've heard a lot about that, and counties across the state, we are looking at and talking with and collaborating successfully with our employees on what their needs are, salaries, benefits. We know those change all the time, and we are working with our employees every single day to make sure that we are listening to them. In the same manner that legislators, as state legislators, don't like the federal government mandating a one-size-fits-all approach, that we agree that it's important for state legislators to adopt the same approach for diverse counties across our state. Thank you very much. And I'll turn it back over to Commissioner James.
Thank you, Commissioner Sharp. In closing, we'd like to say the sponsors have provided no evidence, nor have they really had any conversations with us, that such a massive shift in public employment policy is warranted or necessary. This is a solution in search of a problem, one that will cause counties and our citizens great financial harm, and we stand firmly in opposition. Folks, thank you for your attendance, and I know that myself and any of my fellow commissioners would be welcome to entertain questions. Please.
Mary Government with Colorado Politics. I'm wondering if any of you, or more importantly, any of your attorneys, county attorneys, have taken a look at the latest draft version and can address the issue of how strikes are discussed in the bill and what your views on that.
I can tell you, Marianne, that our commissioner, our county attorney, rather, in Weld County, who is County Attorney Barker, Bruce had an opportunity to just kind of give this a quick once-over. His early assessment of what that does is it simply says that management cannot organize the strikes. It doesn't say that employees themselves cannot go on strike, which we find harmful because it's the employees themselves that provide the services that our citizens rely on.
Do you know why the bill was narrowed just to counties? I mean, there were a lot of groups in this initially.
You know, the sponsors nor the governor have consulted with us, Sean. I would love to have an answer to that question. I have my suspicions. They seem to believe that counties are nothing but an arm of the state. Counties are an implementer of state policies, and we abide by the legislature's statutes. But we're most definitively a local government. Why there is a now seemingly an attack on counties from this particular legislative session is beyond me, but I'd like to know. Rather?
I want to jump in on this one. Sean, you've asked the $1 million question.
Yes.
This bill in its original draft was replete with governments of every sort, of every stripe across the state of Colorado. Everything that was below the state level was in this bill. Every last one of them has asked to get out of it, including us. Why are they asking to get out of it? Because it will destroy them, and they know it. And the sponsors, I think, are aware of this, and so they're letting them get out so that they can garner support, so they can get a win for a constituency. But unfortunately, it'll be at the cost of the services at the county level. It'll be at the cost of every one of our counties that is trying to pave roads, that is trying to grade roads, that is trying to plow roads, that is trying to put law enforcement in the ruralest parts of our counties. This is the $1 million question, Sean. Thank you for asking it, because we should all be asking these folks upstairs, why is it okay for them to be opted out and not counties? Why? I think that's the question that you guys should be asking some sponsors.
I've got a follow-up to that, Commissioner Randall. One of the loudest opponents to this bill is actually a Democrat, former Lieutenant Governor Joe Garcia. Do you think that would have a lot of influence on
Higher ed?
On higher ed, yes, because he's the president of the community college system. Not to mention, he's also got close ties to the bill's House sponsor.
Right.
Do you believe that played a major role in getting higher ed in this bill?
Is that a rhetorical question? Well, of course it did. Absolutely it did.
But it is more than anyone else.
And Joe Garcia, I would hope, would come to bat for every last one of these other entities, because I got to tell you what, if they do this to the counties this year, who are they going to be coming back after next time? It will be higher ed. If we don't stop this now, we don't stop this at all going down the road. We have to stop it completely and wholly here and now for counties, for everybody. And I think Joe Garcia would be an excellent voice, and I welcome him to join our cause.
Would you think it was an election year thing too?
Commissioner Grantham will not comment. I will. Yes, I do believe it was an election year thing. And that's why he was president of the Senate. I'm just a county commissioner. Further questions? Just a county commissioner. Folks, thank you for your attendance, and of course you can visit with each individually. We appreciate it.